All right, let's break down this email communication between parents. Dad jumps straight in. He skips the warm introductions and says, I don't care if she's 15, she agrees to the rules or she doesn't get it back. I don't care what you say. Okay, he's talking about her phone. The language here is important. There's no discussion about safety, no curiosity, no explanation of the rule, no consideration of developmental needs. And the phone doesn't even belong to him. He didn't buy it, yet he's still withholding it until she submits to his demands. Now that's not just setting a consequence. Behaviourally, the phone appears to function as leverage, and the access is contingent on her agreeing with the stated rules. So the message to the child becomes, you don't get access to your belongings, your independence, or your voice until you agree with me. Now at 15, teenagers are developmentally moving towards autonomy. Their brain is wired to practice decision making, negotiate boundaries, develop independence, and have increasing influence over their own lives. So healthy parenting has to recognize this. Now, I'm not saying don't worry about having any rules. Of course you can have rules, but the goal should be to teach self-regulation and responsibility. The goal should not be absolute obedience, because what can often happen when control becomes your parenting strategy is over time, communication patterns that heavily emphasize agreement and compliance can lead to your child disclosing less. It teaches them that disagreement isn't safe and that having a different opinion isn't safe. So their autonomy becomes conditional. It's, I can have a voice, but only if I agree with you. So they just stop talking. They become secretive, they hide things, or they comply on the surface while emotionally disconnecting underneath. Now we look at mum's response. Now this is actually a very good response. She says, I appreciate that you have rules. There's no attacking language there. Then she says, I understand your concerns. That's validation. She's 15 now. She goes to school, works, and has friends. This shows that mum has developmental understanding. I would appreciate if you give her back the phone and consider creating rules with more flexibility and age-appropriate autonomy. Now, yes, that language pattern can create conflict, but she's basically saying give her back the phone and figure out some rules that are actually appropriate for our daughter and her age. But there's no threats or escalation. Actually, this kind of language structure and vocabulary signals possible training or at least knowledge of developmental psychology. Then Dad says, OMG, as in, oh my God. Children don't get to make the rules. I am flexible. What would you know about parenting? This is why she breaks all of my rules. Like I said, she agrees to the rules or she doesn't get it back. And I don't care what you say. Okay. There's a lot to unpack here. OMG in all capitals. This is a big vocalization and emphasis on the letters, displaying frustration and possibly even disgust or contempt. Children don't get to make the rules. I am flexible. What would you know about parenting? This is why she breaks all of my rules. Okay, so Dad says children don't get to make the rules. And even at 15, he's not willing to look at anything from his daughter's point of view. But then he says, I'm flexible. What would you know about parenting? So he said she doesn't get to make the rules because she's the child. But then he says he's flexible without any demonstration of flexibility, then backs that up with an insulting rhetorical question, what would you know about parenting? And then blames mum for the daughter breaking all of his rules. Now this language contains absolutes, broad generalizations such as all of my rules, as well as the restatement of a fixed position. There is little evidence of flexibility, negotiation, or exploration of alternative perspectives. He then goes on to say, like I said, so he is again reiterating his standing. She agrees to the rules or she doesn't get it back. I don't care what you say. It looks like Dad might be using an authoritarian parenting style, which is total obedience through rigid rules and harsh punishment, while Mum appears to use the authoritative style, which protects the relationship while still maintaining boundaries. Now, Mum is basically saying in a very effective way that if you parent in a way that impacts our child negatively, I cannot support the relationship. She doesn't go any further though. She makes her point and then again moves back to collaboration and offers a solution. How about if you return the phone, we can have a discussion and come up with a plan. Now, she also made sure she included her daughter in the discussion. So she's basically saying, let's return the phone and then we can work on a plan moving forward that everyone feels comfortable with. This is a very effective way to communicate in this situation. So behaviourally, we can see a lot of different patterns. Patterns of control, authoritarian communication, cognitive distortions like absolutes and overgeneralisation. Then on the other side, we've got validation, collaboration, and developmental reasoning. These patterns can shape trust and whether communication remains open or begins to break down, not only between the mother and the father, but also between the father and the daughter. I'll be decoding the language, patterns, and relational dynamics hidden underneath everyday interactions on a new podcast called The Reading Room. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. And if you've got any content you'd like broken down on the podcast, DM it and we'll put it up.